best mode slightly. Not by a large margin, but slightly.
Well, one thing that would help them out here, too, is that if you look at historical criticism of the West versus regions like Korea right now, you see that regions like Korea are a lot better at control and assault, generally speaking. So there is the idea where Kittenz has been boot camping in Korea. Maybe they'll have a little bit better prep here going into control. But either way, it will be decided by the players in the field, and they are both teams rolling out Hex.
We see a bit of that Korean flair from Kittenz going to be running the Sombra. They said they liked it before they were boot camping in Korea, but obviously it's very much in meta there. The early kill comes on to Krems, as that might be bound to happen if you're going to run a Sombra, because your Sombra wants to go set up. She wants to take packs places, and you're not going to necessarily get a full fight early on.
Well, off the early kill from Zebo's side, that just made things really easy for Misfits here. They're just going to glide on in, take first control, and well, hang on. We do have a little bit of contesting coming in here from LK, but it's not much. They lose 2 people immediately and actually just delay their ability to come back in with a good push. It didn't really feel like they were actually committing to a delay there.
Not the best of decisions. It reminds me a little of what we already saw for them on Gibraltar. I don't know if they quite have the call or understanding of when they want to go in, when they want to delay, and when they don't, and I think it cost them some time on Gibraltar for sure. Now the Sombra is set up. Of course, you see a solo heal and a Sombra. She's going to be acting as the second support, and already hacking those packs. Going to make it difficult for the opposing flankers to get things done.
Well, with Reinforce out of the fight here early on, LK does have an opportunity to move this in, but it's both Winstons that end up biting the dust here. Neither Winston able to stay alive, which evens things up 5 versus 5, and LK right now really just struggling for the right entry. You see Kib coming in over the top, the rest of LK coming in more in from the front, and Misfits is more than willing to just rope and dope this back, but now with the Tac Visor, they push forward on their own. They find Sombra immediately, and even though Manitin dies, it still buys some time. That said, what was that sound there? Only Line Pro got hit by it.
I feel bad for Lucio's because we only call them out when something maybe have gone wrong, but they're still trying to clean this up, I guess, and I think Line Pro wanted to be around for the next fight to make sure that they could do it.
Well, it still works out for LK in any case. They're able to get control of the point and push things right back, but Misfits can feel happy about this. 61% to 5. They're in a very good position here. The one upside for LK is that they do have a Sombra in play that has EMP charged up, and we've seen how EMP alone can really just chain fights in favor of a defense, so perhaps holding will go a little bit more in LK's favor here as the EMP being set up, it connects, hits 3 members of Misfits towards the back, but the Dragon Blade from Nevik still keeping things relatively even as both Genjis have a great fight here so far.
Nobody told Nevix, and he comes in and crashes the party just a little bit, but it does seem like the cleanup is there. This is one of the maps early on when Sombra was announced that I prophesied she would be good at, because I know how difficult it is when you play a Tracer or a Genji to not have even just the small packs out there for your cleanup. Those are the alleys you want to fight in. So you see Sombra now coming to bear here, and there's no healing aside from what you're actually getting from Misfits. So if you can get an early kill on maybe Zebo or maybe Mineral, those packs aren't going to be there for the flankers, and they're not going to feel confident engaging.
This is a really strong engage coming up here from Misfits. Reinforce can create space with Primal Rage as the sound barrier comes in. They open with the sound barrier, and now LK has to be careful here early on. Kib cannot immediately count the Dragon Blade because of the sound barrier, and they do strike blood early on. It's 2 early kills from Misfits, and Kib probably just weighing whether or not he wants to even Dragon Blade here. It's already looking to be a 1 fight for Misfits, and Kib, he holds onto the blade, and likely rightly so.
Gray just going to try to get himself a little bit more charge as the Sombra here going to try to just pepper in some of those Uzi shots, get himself some packs, and he wants to get back up to that EMP. But, meanwhile, pretty good stall going out. They bought a lot of seconds for themselves. The Kittenz have put themselves on the verge of a game-winning fight, or a stage-winning fight, rather.
LK only needs to win 1 more fight, although with the progress how it is right now, they might only get 1 attempt. However, Manitin falls immediately here. The Helix Rocket from downtown removes him from the fight, and LK, that is a signal to go. They're moving right in. Tavik able to even things out just a bit, 5 versus 5, but a sound barrier is coming in soon here, Hex, and an EMP and a Blade. Lots of momentum here for LK as Kib goes in. The Blade is out. He gets the back line, and the supports are getting decimated for Misfits.
They went all in on it. EMP, Blade, and Sound Barrier. It's a fight that they have to win. If you don't win that fight, which one are you going to win? But at 85%, there still is a chance for a comeback here, and they're going to have Nano boost up. You think you Nano the Soldier 76 and just see what happens.
There's a lot of resources here for Misfits, but 1 good EMP could prevent them from using it all at the same time.
Beautiful.
The EMP comes out really early, and is the dive going to be there to capitalize? We'll have to see. Krems does strike blood early on, and yes, it appears like it's happening here for LK. The EMP sets him up despite the disadvantage in ultimates otherwise, as Kib goes to town, and all-you-can-eat sushi buffet for Kib. and that is going to lead the round 1, going the way of LK.
Well, that's always the power of EMP, just to slow them down, and you can't cast ultimates, you can't cast anything at that time. More importantly, you can't cast anything when you're dead, so the EMP sets up those kills.
The cool thing about EMP as an ability is that relative to a lot of other Overwatch, where you can kind of look at it from an wider viewing distance and go, okay, this team has an ultimate advantage. They're really likely to win this fight. EMP at times doesn't really care about how many ults that you have stored up if you don't execute it properly, because you can interrupt the flow early on. You can drop the EMP before people really commit with their resources, and then if you're down 2 or 3 players, well, it might not matter as much that you have those ultimates up.
I completely agree. And interrupt, I think, is the great term to use there. It's really smart to just think that the team has a plan, and now that plan's gone. And also, you don't have to really think about economy and ults, because EMP, it still charges very, very fast. And we've seen Sombras get even more effective at charging EMPs, something we don't see a whole lot of from the European region's EP. They're going to run a Pharah on this map.
Well, Kib is taking this, guys, and he has his work cut out for him. He loses his DPS partner on Krems early on, and alrighty, the dive from Misfits, very dominating, and doesn't really leave LK with a lot of room to work with here. Kib losing teammates before his eyes, gonna have to back out, and again, Misfits with a very quick strike to get first control, in all likelihood.
Does appear so, which always makes the Pharah's job harder to come in here. You want to be able to knock them off, you want to get entry damage when they're coming in and just splash damage rockets. So Kib gonna stay on it for now, only at 28%, so he must feel pretty good about it. It's an odd Pharah to say the least, because they're not even running a Zen with this. Just a lot of confidence in his Ana.
The key here is for Kib is that Kib needs to strike first before Misfits gets damaged into the backline, and unfortunately, not gonna be the case here. Tavik, again, doing work into the back, leading the way. Big concussive blast towards the end by Kib, but not quite leading to what could have been carnage. Yeah,
Line Pro was only able to get 1 there. It looked like he was about to get 3, but Tavik has opened up really well with taking out Munchkin, and then he's running wild. They've not had a very solid answer for him.
Okay, right now, immediately diving back in. There's no chill in their offense right here. But the Transcendence comes out. Oh, is he? He gets back on! Just barely. You see Zemosai able to stay in as Nevix just decimates the backline. Brutality from Misfits that was really just on the edge, literally.
It's the power of faith, it must be, because he was defying gravity, defying physics. No law in the universe says that he should have gotten back up on the bridge, but when you truly believe, when you truly transcend, you ascend as well.
I mean, now you're just making think that Zenyatta is related to Peter Pan here, but you just gotta believe.
But that's Tinkerbell, right?
Yeah, something like that. Who knows about these old school stories? But Tavik moving in, pulse bomb out, does it connect? Not quite, was very close to the stick, doesn't quite get, but he's just able to work his way to the back line. So the Misfits are coming in from the front, Tavik coming in from the back, and this flank working out pretty well here so far. Laserkins has to sound barrier down players because they're frankly running out of time here. They're keeping it even, Hex, but it's still desperation in a sense nonetheless.
It's been difficult for them, and Kib finally shows up in the kill feed, got a solo barrage on it. I'm questioning the Tracer play just a little bit, but by the time they clean this up, which they will, it's going to be 99% to 0.
So the upside here for Laserkins, they got control of the point. The bad news, if they lose control of the point, they're likely going to lose the round. So they have to be perfect from here on out. Easier said than done. What does that mean? It means they're gonna have to win fights at an ult disadvantage at some point into the latter part of the map. And I gotta say, in terms of ultimates and cashing in, they're gonna have a Transcendence and a Dragon Blade up soon. And so far, Nevix has been sublime on these blades. You see him moving in, he's built up the blade, he sees 3 willing participants in the back. Doesn't use blade here just yet, almost goes down.
It's a very nice Transcend, and the reason they have Transcend is because Grace switched over to that Zenyatta. They're running Ana earlier, which I can't imagine playing a Pharah without a Zen or even a Mercy at that point in time. So the switch came over from Gray to move from Ana to Zenyatta. It helped out their damage, it helped out their time to kill, and more importantly, it gave Kib a lot more consistent healing in the sky.
It was a really nice retreat from LK there, but it was also good patience on Nevix going, okay, he didn't really like the way the fight was going, holds the blade. Now he has it for this next fight where things can be very effective. And here comes the blade right now. Nevix rolling in. It's 3 early kills here from Misfits. The barrage from Kib not able to do anywhere near the work it was looking for. And now LK backs against the wall here once more as they have to try and delay this and flip it back over, which is easier said than done.
Poor Line Pro. All he wanted to do was dance and listen to music. And this must be the town that Footloose was filmed in, because they do not allow dancing, they do not allow music, and he's killed before he can break it down. However, he'll have it if he gets back in here. It's just going to be difficult.
Well, this is where it is the Hail Mary of Overwatch, where you throw everything you have, you're outnumbered, you're outgunned, but you hope for the miracle. And that miracle, it would come from Munchkin if anyone else. It's usually Tracer that has the hero play to bring back situations like this, but Munchkin is surrounded by enemies on all sides. There's a little bit of support coming in here, but Misfits cleaning up player after player as they desperately come in. Mao is down, Munchkin is down, and that is going to be the round here for Misfits.
I think we're overall a little surprised whenever we see Pharah in EU, and perhaps it's, you know, a little bit of our bias of seeing so many teams in North America run just pure Pharah Mercy combos. But I think, I mean, it's almost a little bit of hubris to think that we can run Pharah and not even run a Zen with her. I mean, that's putting a lot of pressure on your Ana player to constantly hit those healing shots. And it's almost too distracting because she's got to heal on 2 different planes.
Well, the other thing, too, is that when we see Pharah Mercy do really, really well, it's usually when the Pharah is just very durable, where it's not just, you can't just poke the Pharah away and the Pharah has to run and heal. It's the Pharah has a consistent source of healing, which lets the Pharah be aggressive, which lets the Pharah dive in on opportunities and perhaps pursue barrages that they otherwise wouldn't. It wasn't the most classical of successful Pharah comps, to say the least.
You at least need the orb. You need the orb to be able to operate with the faith that you have to. Courtyard fight opens up, both teams dropping bubbles, and we'll see which team wants to rotate early onto the point here. The dive does come in, and they're able to take out Krems with it as Mineral joins his Winston.
Misfits is just really good at these early dives. They've been catching laser cannons off guard far more than the reverse. However, Kib says, you know what? Let's tilt the odds. Picks up 2 towards the end. Not sure if it's going to be enough, though. He's just lost so many teammates in this situation. And I got to say, the coordination that we're seeing between Reinforce and Nevix on this dive early on has been putting Misfits in a consistently good position. And it does lead to them getting first control of the point once more.
I was dancing around it a little of why I didn't love the Pharah, but I just think Kib is a better Genji than he is a Pharah, and I think it works better in this composition. You're seeing it right now as that they get to the reinforce of their supports, and the DPS come alive for Laser Kittens.
It was Kib who kept the hope alive there, where, yes, Laser Kittens was losing people, but Kib was doing enough damage, getting enough kills that once respawns came in, they were able to flip that back in their favor. So I tend to agree with you. I do think that Kib's Genji is certainly a cut above, and I'm not even trying to make a pun there.
You don't even have to try anymore, ZP. You've been casting so long, it's second nature. You speak in puns.
I'm just one with the dad jokes, man. That's all I have to say. But this time, Laser Kittens keeping control of the courtyard. They get 2 early on there, and Misfits, despite early engages early on that were very solid, a little bit sloppy from them.
Yeah, this triple DPS has worked out very much better than the Pharah did. And yes, Pharah is a DPS, but you know what I mean. This is the classic triple DPS that you're seeing out of a lot of teams. You get your double hit scan, and you get your Genji in there as well, and it just works in such a great theory that you're able to get the mobility in there. Transcend pops off.
Transcend pops off, but LK has so many tools to deal with this. Here comes the Dragon Blade from Kib towards the tail in the Transcendence, and they deep dive with authority. Misfits ejected from this point, courtesy of Kib's Blade, although they give up the point of the process. Misfits, they get the cap in the middle of it.
Yeah, but it's they just cleanly won that fight. I guess the only mark on that record would be that, again, I'm not sure that Line Pro needed to sound barrier, but I think he was denied music so much in the last fight that he needs to hear it.
The one good thing here for Misfits, they only threw 2 ultimates into them, the Blade and the Transcendence. They still have a lot on deck for this next fight, so LK cannot rest easily. Misfits very likely to be all in here. There's a sound barrier and Tac Visor coming up. Reinforce deep diving with that support, and they immediately strike Pater. They get rid of the problem in Kib. And this goes from bad to worse for LK. Misfits well on their way to retaking this point.
It's my favorite icon in the kill feed, the Winston jump landing kill, because you don't see it too often, but I guess it's been referred to as the Goomba Stomp, but just crushed it, landed perfectly onto Kib, and it does a lot of damage. The best Winstons, we always look for these small things that the best are doing that others aren't. The best Winstons are landing those jumps and getting impact damage.
I really want to see a skin where Winston is Mario now, or just Mario inspired, with the appropriate sound effects. That would just make my life complete.
It's recency bias. ZP's been playing Mario Kart all day.
I don't know what you're talking about. Reinforce, though, gets Crims immediately in this fight. It's another good engage from Reinforce. And again, once Misfits gets that early kill, without abandon, they just go. They remove the other team from the fight, and LK now in a bit of trouble. They still have plenty of time to work with, but they do need to disengage from this fight because you just see Tvik rolling around, getting the cleanup with Reinforce. Oh, tell that the Munchkin, who is still being a pain in the back.
Yeah, and he's able to actually get Nevix. I was really on board with tell that to Munchkin because he needed the memo to get out. This is one of those situations that I'm still a little bit worried, but kill feed now proving me wrong. I still feel like it was a fight that had been lost, and we see teams fall into this trap all the time, but so close right now.
This is closer than it probably should be for how this engaged from Laserkins, but they did make an opportunity there where there probably shouldn't have been one. The problem is that when they failed to capitalize on that, Misfits is now in a much better position. They are one fight away from taking this round, which would put them one round away from taking the series. So a lot of pressure here on Laserkins, and all eyes here on Munchkin and Crims as they come in with the Sound Bear engage.
Well, Nevix can shut this down as well. He's got his own Dragon Barrier up, but this is the last fight for the Night Market.
Nevix right now getting into the indoor area, slicing, not able to find what he's looking for, but it's okay. Tvik has him on the backside. 5 versus 5 right now, but look at Kib. Still has the Dragon Blade in reserve. Will he be able to pop it here? He doesn't really have the health to do so. He's getting poked down, and no, the blade never even comes out from Kib as Misfits is able to clear them off the point. And though they came close to flipping it, it's not quite enough. And Misfits will take the Night Market.
Oddly enough, what bought critical seconds there was Mineral got really, really low, and he went to the Lucio window. Everyone knows what the Lucio window is on this point, right? But he started getting healed up by Zebosai, who got the orb, and that made them commit really hard on him to try to go outside, and that bought them the time that they needed to start getting in more damage and bringing that fight back. I think if Mineral goes down there early, it might be a different fight.
It very well could have been a different fight if Mineral bit the dust early, and I do wonder if Kib just held on the blade a little bit too long there. Obviously, you don't want to throw it into support ultimates, but you are in a round winning or losing fight. It's hard to say. In any case, Laser Kittens, if they're going to come back in the series, Hex, it must begin now. They have no more mulligans, no more room for error. They need to come back here, take the garden, and force round 5. Otherwise, Misfits will be moving on here today.
Well, speaking of mulligans, I think they would rather go to a different map than this one. Did not look great here early on, but they've learned from their mistakes at the very least. So in what I considered a mistake anyway, is that Kib will not be running the Pharah, and Gray is actually going to start out on the Zenyatta, excuse me. So early on, they're just trading back and forth. So far, a little bit better for Laser Kittens on the trades, but Tvik comes in here and evens it up.
But definitely more comfortable playing without the Pharah, but Tvik, the X Factor right now, comes in, grabs 2 immediately, and he's untouched right now. He's still darting in and around the point, and very well could lead to Misfits getting this first control. And LK actually decides, you know what, we don't even want to continue delaying this out. We're just gonna back off, reset. We have time.
I'm gonna go through the Overwatch time machine now and remember when Tvik and used to be able to play 2 Tracers, and Tvik was part of a duo on this map, and they terrorized this map as Tracer.
Well, Laserkins is coming back in force here. They get the early kill to Nevix, and now they're pushing it right back. But Tvik again is saying, no way, you're not getting back in onto this point right now, is being the glue for Misfits in what was an otherwise fight that could have went against them.
And it's no surprise. I've seen Tvik crush on this map for over a year now. Literally over a year since this map was released. Tvik's Tracer on this map has been superb.
Misfits now very much reestablishing. The Transcendence lets them go a little bit deeper. Laserkins pushed back. Maybe they come back in here, but they're down 2. It would be poor form to come in with a blade, with a sound barrier here just yet, but time is quickly getting away from the next. It's about to be 50% for Misfits, so if they're not able to win this next ultimate showdown here, which it should well be, you might have to stick a fork in Laserkins because they should be done.
This is a fight they have to win, especially if they commit as much as I think they're going to commit to this. They're looking for an entry kill, trying to get Tvik very low. Self-destruct comes and gets nothing. Transcend pops off over the bridge, but they get knocked back. Some decent peel.
It's going to be a tale of 2 blades here, potentially. I'm not sure if Kib really needs to pull it out, though, and I'm not sure Nevix wants to with how this fight is breaking down. It was a good tank support engage from Laser Kittens. And though Krems explores the lower levels courtesy of Reinforce, this should be a recap here from LK, but oh no, there's delay coming in from Misfits. Maybe they pull this back. It'll be difficult though.
The delay's been great. It started with that Primal Rage knocking Krems off there, and it's been so back and forth. You stall out, the Diva now comes in, and this has been really difficult for Laser Kittens to just complete a fight.
I wonder if Laserkins just got too greedy there and trying to finish that out. Krems didn't need to be near the ledge. They had multiple kills. They were near the point. I think Laserkins dove too deep to finish things off, and now at 98%, they have to get on the point. Misfits zoning them out. It is now do or die for the Kittens. Here comes Kib. Last moment desperation Dragon Blade. Looking for anything. Kib not really in the best positions here, but does have reinforcements coming in. Misfits, though, on the verge of taking it all. They just need to flush Laser Kittens off of this point. They come in with the Transcendence, but very little actually being killed right now.
No, they were just in their stallings. They've just been unable to complete an entirety of a fight, as it's been all Misfits on this stage in particular. Munchkin finds his own demise somewhere in this fight. Desperation comes in from Gray, but it's not going to be there. As EP, you prophesize that there is Mandata's gold at the bottom of Sanctum. At the bottom of Lijiang Tower is only concrete and a loss to Misfits.
Yeah, I would tend to agree there. Lijiang, it's not really the greatest place to explore unless you're Misfits, where you just want to revel in your glory. But that was a really nice knockoff by Reinforce towards the end. It's easy to overlook that, but
yeah,
if Krems just stayed a little bit more towards the center, I think there was a good chance that Laserkins was at least able to flip that fight in particular.
Yeah, and I think he had Visor up, or was close to it.
He was very close to it. Yeah, that dictated the rest of that map, or at least that point. But I have to call somebody out. Tvik just absolutely dominated on a Tracer. The first 2 fights, he pulled it back with 2 very quick kills.
There's not a whole lot more to say than Tvik and Tvik. He's got games like that. And as I mentioned, he used to be able to run 2 Tracers on Lijiang, and I mean, some of you don't know the horror that was those days, but he was part of a duo that used to dominate that map on Tracer. They would be spawn camping before it was cool, and it's no surprise to see him reprise that role.
The thing that every Overwatch team needs is that they need a player that can defy the odds and bring a fight back that statistically maybe you shouldn't be winning. And for Misfits, that player is clearly Tvik, where you look at the stats. If you lose maybe 1 to 2 people early on, generally speaking, the other team is going to win. But if you can play Tracer the way Tvik was, go in, even the odds with kills into the backline, you can have your team win fights that they otherwise shouldn't be able to win.
What I'm most impressed by is you see a lot of Tracers try to avoid Tracer v Tracer, because it's a pain, it's variable, and a lot of times it's somewhat RNG of whether you're going to get that last shot in or the other person is, and you're just recalling, and you look at each other like, we're both wasting our time here. Let's go get some kills. He